So in today's lesson, we're going to look at how to use Excel to create these bid sheets. Because in Excel, we can do the mathematical formulas and therefore automatically do all of our calculations. And it makes for a much easier representation of our bid. Plus, if we want to make any changes, they're automated all throughout the process. So open up Excel. It should look something similar to this, although you may have different elements that are in here. And we're just going to select the blank workbook. So I've double clicked that, open. And I have that right here. I'm just going to make that full screen. And what I've done is I've opened up the bid sheet we're trying to replicate. Now in here, what I have indicated is that in the bid sheet, I've put some numbers in the sides that will help us create the same bid sheet in terms of its relative size and positioning. So you'll notice that up here I have an A2. So let's try to understand Excel. Excel is, as the name would sort of indicate, a bunch of cells that we can then fill out with specific information. So when you're looking at the lettering or the cell location, the top are letters and the sides are numbers. So A2 refers to that cell right there. So I've left clicked inside the cell. Now I can put in information in two different locations. I can type it in here, or what I can do is actually type it in the formula bar. Either case, it works. Now, the formula bar is typically used when we're doing the math equations and all that, and you'll see that later on. But we can place them in either location. Now what we're going to do is lay out our grid so it replicates that which we have on the right. And what I've done is indicated the actual widths and the heights of the cells in the numbers that are highlighted here in yellow so that all of our bid sheets look exactly the same. So if this is A2, the very next cell over is the B column. So what I want you to do is with your left mouse key, click on the B, and that highlights the whole column, not in the cell, but on the letter B. From here, we're going to right click on it and select column width. Here we're going to type in the number 9. So I've already calculated all this. I did it manually and then I made the numbers a bit easier to work with so that we have it all the same in the class. So I'll select OK, and that will represent anything that's in that first column. So for instance, what's in the first column? Quantity and a bunch of different items, but you'll notice that the column above is wide. Well, that's because we've combined columns, and we can do that in different areas of Excel in order to create this look. So column number C, I'm going to left click on the letter C, right click on it, select column width, and type in the number 45 and select OK. So the second column over is 45 units wide, which would be where the description is. So if you take a look down below where it says additional information and notations, this is a combination of column B and C. That's all that we've done is we've combined the columns together. Same with customer signature, but you'll notice everything below that is even wider. Why? Because we've added another column. So we're going to left click on the letter D. We're going to right click on it, select column width, and in this one it's 15. So I'll type in 15, select OK. Column D is now 15, and then column E, the last one, is also 15. So click on it, the letter, right click on it, column width, and type in 15, and then select OK. So what we've done is replicated the bid sheet that's on the right with the column width, but I don't have any information in there. So let's start typing. So you'll notice that when we go down to underneath the number 9 and beside the number 15, we're going to put in the word bid sheet. So where's that located? It's actually located in the third row under column B. So click in there. And here we're simply going to start typing. So I've got cap locks on because it's all capitals there. And I'll type in bid sheet. And that will be the title of this page. Now immediately below that, I've got Green Valley Nurseries. So if I type that in, Green Valley Nursery, so this will be obviously the name of the company. You'll notice the size is different, the location is different, everything is different about it from what we have on the right. What we have on the right is a combination of 3 cells. How do I know it's 3 cells? Well, in this particular case, if you look to the extreme right, I've got the word bid sheet, job number 1, and then a blank. So that would be 3 rows of cells. So I'm going to combine the three rows together here. And the way we do this is a very particular way. I'm off of that cell right now. You can see that I'm located somewhere other than B4. Now I'm going to go to B4 and click and drag. So I'm going to click, drag down two cells, and drag over once, and then a second time to D. Three cells down and three cells over. And this time I'm going to go up at the top of the menu. This is where we have a number of different options on how we work with the cells. Now let me expand this, because what happens is when you contract the menus, they sort of truncate them. And you'll notice there's one that's called merge and center. Now I don't want to center this because the writing is actually to the left. But what I want to do is merge the cells that I've selected. And see what happens? The lettering drops to the bottom. It looks like one big cube. Now I don't want the lettering at the bottom. I want it to the left and at the top. So now I look at these different menu items here. And I want it to the left and at the top. And that will move the text to the proper location, what I want in this particular case. So here, let me just move this to make it a bit smaller. And I just open that up just so that we can see the menu items that are above. I've got Green Valley Nursery. So now I can select where it says Green Valley Nursery, and there it is here. I have to highlight it first, and then from there I can change the size of the font, and you can actually see it changing on my screen. So I'm going to pick a font 16, and here I'm going to make sure again it's to the left and above, and there it is. It's okay. And that's where we're going to put in Green Valley Nursery. Now in cell E4, we're going to type in bid sheet again. And this time its function or its justification is to the right. So you'll notice that sometimes these things aren't available and we have to click off of them, then click back on. Now they're available. It's to the right. Great. Then I have job number 1. So I'm going to click underneath it and type in job number. And obviously that will change with each job that you work on. And it's got a unique property in that it's got an underline. So let's look at how we create these different cell features. Okay, so job number 1 has an underline. So I'm going to click in the cell job number 1. And in the menu above, you'll notice beside the letter, whether it's bold, italics, or underline, there's a little box. If I scroll down that box, these are all the different underlining and box features. So I want a bottom border on that. So click on it. Now click off the cell and you'll see a bottom border. Great. I also want a big box to go around the whole area from where it says Green Valley Nursery to bid sheet job number 1 and so on. So I'm going to click and drag all of that area. Remember, you have to start off a square. I can't be on a square and then click and drag. I got to be off the square. Click and drag the whole area that I want. Great. And then I'm going to go into the top of the menu, and instead of bottom border, I'm going to select the option outside border. And when I do that, it creates an outside border around the whole object. Let me click off of that and you can see exactly what's done. Now notice I do see the lighter gray lines. They're not going to print out. So that's perfectly fine. That's exactly the way I want it. All right, let's move on to the rest of the stuff that we have here. And we don't have to adjust the heights that are here at all. So I'll go ahead and type in quantity. And I'm going to press tab and that will move me over to the next cell. And then this is description, and then tab, and unit price, tab, and total price. There we go. Now, if this isn't fitting in the cells, you've done one of the first operations incorrectly. And that's why it's not, or the fonts aren't fitting in it. So now I want to have these cells identified exactly the way they are with the boxes or the borders all around. So let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. That includes the original. So if this is 1 and I add 18 to that, I should be at 25. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and there's 25 just underneath it. Now I'm going to highlight the whole region, and then select, this time instead of outside border, all borders, and that will create a border around every cell. So now my image on the left side is starting to look like my image on the right. Great. Now I'm going to use my wheel and just scroll up a bit because I'm looking at the bottom portion here. So how do I figure this out? Well, it says here the cells are 22.5 units high. And if I look to the extreme right, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. So these 4 here, 1, 2, 3, 4, are all 22.5 units high. So I selected them all. So I've clicked and dragged the numbers with my left mouse key. I'll right click on it, and this time it says row height. Why? Because we're going across the rows when we select numbers, and we go across the columns when we select the letters. So I'll click on row height, and each one of them is 22.5. Select OK. And now they've expanded to that size. So what I'm going to do here now is select the different elements that I can then put the correct borders on. I know these ones in here all have the border on all the edges. So I'm going to go with what I had last time, all borders. And this one here is a single border around it. So there I'm going to select single border around the outside. Okay. Now, as you'll notice, it says additional information and notes. I want this to be a single cell that I can type in and then have it wrap around inside that cell. So I'm going to pick all this inside. So I clicked and dragged. And again, in here, I don't see it. I'm just going to expand my menu. There it is. And instead of merge and center, I want to just simply merge the cells. Now it's one block. And I want to start typing in the upper left-hand corner. So I must select the justify to the left, start at the top. And that indicates that that's where the typing will initiate. So let me minimize this. I want additional information and notations in here. So I can either type in here or here. Information or notations and colon. And to make sure that when I go back to this, the text will wrap. There's an option in here you'll see later on that will allow us to do this. So I'm going to click off of it. And then when I click inside of it again, there are some text wrap functions that will make sure that the text wraps correctly in there. Okay, let's go to these cells in here. I've got total materials. Oops, it's a small letter. And I got a bit too many letters in there, so I'm going to click on it. Now here's an error. I want to edit it. So I can click in the cell and it appears above. And I find it easier to edit it in the actual formula bar than it is to click in the cell sometimes. So it's up to you really which way you do this. And then this is tax. And then below that, I'm just using my arrow keys to move down instead of my tab keys. Labor. And then total amount. Okay, so we've completed that. Now the cell right below that, notice it's all the same cell height throughout that. It's 45, so it's a single cell. It's one cell. So I'm going to click on 29, go right across, right click on it, and for the row height, I'm going to type in 45 and then select OK. So it's a single cell height as opposed to combining 2 or 3 different rows of cells. And in here, customer signature, so I'm going to combine these two. And in this icon here, I will merge the cells, type in customer's signature, and a colon. And beside that is the estimator's signature. So I'm going to do the same thing here, combine the two cells, and I'm going to merge those cells and type in estimator and colon. Now the difference there, look, it's to the left, but it's not at the bottom of the cell, it's in the middle of the cell. I can do this operation in selecting both of them at the same time. So I've picked the two of them, and this time I'm going to say it's to the left, which it is, but I want it in the middle. So the above ones refer to the height in the cell. The ones below that refer to the justification in the cell. You got to just remember how those are. Okay, I've got a cell in between. Now, these two will both have the borders all the way around. So I'll go up in here and put the border all the way around, outside border, all borders. And then I got a small little cell here I'm going to leave blank. We're going to fix that height a bit later on because it's basically a guess. And then the next three cells are 30 units each. So 31, 32, 33. I've selected the numbers by clicking and dragging them. I'm going to right click on them, select row height, and in this case they're 30 each. Select OK. Great. You'll notice the way we've combined them here. So I've got that row is in combination. So I've picked the entire row. And in here I've got merge cells. And the next one, same thing, merge cells. Although the third one, you'll notice I've got city, province, zip code. I could merge them and then space them with the space bar, or I can leave them the way they are right now, and it will fit. You'll see what I mean. So that means that I have to highlight the areas differently. What do I mean by that? I'm going to select the first two areas. So I'm holding down Shift and I'm clicking in each cell. And I'm going to say outside border for each of them. And this time I'm going to select the three cells and do outside border. But in here I can type in three pieces of information. Above I can just type in the one. So here is sold to. And our project name is Carol Brown. And in that cell, I want it in the mid-height, so I clicked off of it, click onto it, and then select the mid-height value. There we go. Next one is also mid-height, so I might as well pick that now. And the ones below, I've clicked and dragged inside of them and also picking mid-height. Just to save some steps. This is address. And this one is 4567 Main Street. Oh. And the one below that, I'm going to put in city. Alliston. Now in the next cell, what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to click inside of it. I could also press tab. I want this writing to be in the middle. So I'm going to pick the option center. So when I click in here and type, it doesn't interfere with the text that overrides or goes beyond that cell on the left side. And then when I press tab, I'm in the last one, which is the zip code. We're going to put down, instead of zip code, it's going to be our postal code. And in here we have L9R1 and 8. Now you'll see what's happening in here. Because we're using the word postal code, it's going outside of the cell. I don't want to fix that in any other way. But what I do want to have is the postal code listed in this particular area. So I'm just going to change the wording. This is something that is just arbitrarily. I'm going to put in postal instead. And now it fits nicely within the cell. This cell in here is the date. So I'm selecting all three. I'm going to merge the cells together. And then I'm just going to pick an outside border on that. And I'll click inside. The date is somewhere in the middle. So it's left justified. And left justified, and it's in the middle. Now, put in the word date. And then click off of that. So our project now looks exactly the same, which is ideal for what we want. So let's make sure we save this file. And I'm going to put it in my estimating course folder. There we go. And here it's in our exercise 3. And this will be my bid sheet and tutorial. Good. Now you're going to notice a couple different things happen here. So for instance, all of these items on the right side have price amounts to them. So what I'm going to do is change the formatting. Right now we've been just typing in text. I'm going to click and drag all of the elements right down to total amount, all of them. And up in the ribbon, you'll see that there's an option there, accounting normal number format. I'm going to click on that. And what that's going to do, it's going to be, there we go. And in here, I'm going to select that we're going to be counting numbers, or this is dollars. So let's see what we have here. No, that's okay. We're just going to select the dollar option, and we're going to stick with the United States because we don't have any other formula. And there we go. So what's going to happen in here is if there's a value in there, it will change it to a dollar sign. And that's important because that's what we're going to be working with. Okay, so I have all these different elements. I have the dollar signs, and you can see that that's what's going to happen here. Now what we're going to do is work out how we place in math. So for instance, first of all, when we're looking at different items, the quantities here, they go 159, unit price could be per quantity. So if I've got 5 of something, and the price on them for the 5 is 199, I want the total to equal 5 times 199. Now you'll notice here, we don't have the dollar signs either. We should. So I'm going to click and drag all of these items, put in the dollar sign. Now there we have it. And I want the price to be 5 times the $1.99. This is where the formula bar comes in. And the way we do this is simply this. We'll select the formula or the cell location where we want the answer. Then we click inside the formula bar and we'll type in the symbol equals. It's right beside the backspace key at the upper right hand corner. Equals. And then we type in the cell numbers. So it's B8. B8. Notice B8 gets highlighted. That's B8. And then times, and we'll use the asterisk for times. That's the multiplication symbol. Times what? Well, it's times D8. D8. So it's this cell times this cell. You notice this is blue now. This is red. It indicates the colors up above. Now that's only a temporary thing so that we can see it. If we're happy with that multiplication happening in that cell, we select the enter or the check mark. And what you're going to see now is the calculation to the right. Excellent. Now I want to do another one. So let's do, I'm going to go with 24 at 19.99. And then the same thing. Now, since we highlighted all those to be dollar symbols, every time I type in a number here, it automatically adds the dollar symbol. But notice that the calculation is not done here. Well, there's a simple fix here. I go in the cell before, I press Control C, then I go in the cell after that, and I press Control V. So what that does is it duplicates the formula, but it doesn't duplicate the cell location, but the relative cell location. What do I mean by that? Okay, so when I click in this cell, and then I click on the formula bar, you'll see it's this item times this item. That's the way we've positioned it. And it doesn't matter which way when you're doing multiplication, which way you position it. When I go into the next cell, and I click in the formula bar, you notice it's switched down. It automatically anticipates that that's what it wants to do. Excellent. Now, later on, we're going to remove these numbers, but for now, save the file so that you have a copy of this math. Now, what are the next things here? Down below, I've got total materials. That's this cell right here. And what I want to do is sum up all the materials that I have along here. So we use a slightly different method of approach here. So I'm going to click in that cell. I'm going to click in the formula bar, but this time I'm going to use the formula insert function, the FX, and if I click on it, the very first one is sum, which is a good one to have because typically we're going to be doing that. So I'm going to click on the word sum and select OK. Now here it's saying that it's going to basically add together or sum the totals between E8 and E24. See, this one's 24, That's 24. So it automatically knows I'm going to pick everything above it. Now, if you want to skip some cells or change that around, that's how you change this formula. But for now, that's what we want to keep. We don't change it. We simply select OK. And there is the total calculation for those two numbers. Great. Now I want to add tax to it. So in this tax cell, right to the right of it, I want to take the number above, add 13%. So this cell, I'm going to go above, is equal to the cell above, which is E25, E25, and I can do this a couple of different ways. I know I'm adding 13% to the actual value. So here I'm simply going to type in times 0.13 and then select the checkbox. And what I'll do is automatically add 13%. I could have gone into percentages or things like that, but this is the easiest way. 0.13 is 13%. So there's my 13%. I'm going to add my labor. Now, labor could be a number or it could be a percentage. We don't know at this point, and that's fine. And then below that, I'm going to click on the total amount. So I want the three cells above. So once again, in the actual formula bar, I'll click inside of it. I'll select the FX, click on sum, and OK. See what numbers they pick up, 26 to 27. Well, I want 25, 26, and 27. So I'm just going to change that 26 to 25, select OK, and now it's added those three cells together. How do I know for sure? Click off your work, click in the final cell, click up above, and you can see the three cells it's totaled together. Okay, save this work, file save. We've already saved it once, so all I have to do is a file save. It'll name it the same thing. And this will be our bid sheet. You have two of them that you're going to be creating for this particular project, and this will be the submission. Now in here, what we can do is print this page to PDF. So we'll select File, Print, and what it wants to do is it will print the page as is. It may cut some of this off. So there's another way that we can do, instead of printing the active sheet, which will work just fine. I'm just going to back up. I can also select it. I don't want the word bid sheet, for instance. So I'm going to select what I want to have printed first, just by clicking and dragging from an open cell onwards. And I will then select File, Print. And in this menu, instead of Print to Active Sheet, I'm going to say Print Selection. And now it makes sure that all the lines are exactly where I want them. Looks great. And I can select Print. And when I select Print, it'll print it as a PDF file. I'm just going to save it for now. And once you've saved the PDF file, so it's asking me where I want to put this. It's off my screen right now, so you can't see it. Let me open that up. It looks like mine may have locked up. Oh, there we go. It's locked up. I apologize for that. So it opens up a PDF file, and you'll notice that none of the internal lines are there anymore, which is exactly what we want. But anything that we've selected as a cell will appear correctly, and that's what we're going for. Okay, sorry about this. My computer's locked up. And the problems with trying to run multiple programs as I'm doing all this work. I'm also obviously recording it. This is what you're going to be doing for the project. You're going to make two of these bid sheets. You're going to print off or tabulate them, make sure the math is correct. You're going to send me the two PDF files. Eventually, I'll be asking for the Excel spreadsheet too, just to confirm that you understand all the math that's involved with it and how it works. Well, thank you for joining me today. I appreciate the fact that we've been able to get through this lesson quite quickly. And once again, if you have any questions, we have a question period in class, and we'll be using this technique in Excel throughout the program.